so clear, it's so moral. Why are you throwing it back to something that you did which did not involve troops on the ground? You're talking about reversing a policy for security, which is what Joe Kent is saying. There is no imminent threat with Iran. And because he can't articulate one, he just throws it back to Obama, who did have a bad policy, by the way, which is a policy that I believe should have been reversed, by the way. But what does that have to do with what he just asked you? What are we doing in Iran right now? I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad he's gone. I like to be surrounded by people who lie to me. Exactly what Charlie had intimated in those messages with Brett Weinstein. That if you're close to him, if you're in his ear, that's why they're constantly around him. They create this kind of hive mentality. Everybody thinks this. No, this is going to be amazing. Everyone's going to love you. It's perfect. No, there's a big threat. It's going to happen tomorrow. And they're wrong. And they're lying. They just want Trump to send Goyim to die. And now you have Trump sounding like Bibi, pretending, just uttering the term nuclear holocaust. That's just fear-mongering, okay? It is just... by the way, I do want to point this out. This always kills me about, like, the nuclear threat always lingering. The only country that has ever dropped nukes in the history of the world is us, okay? The same country that's always using this idea of the threat of nukes as an excuse to allow them to invade other countries. It's us, just something I noticed. We're the only ones that ever did that, actually. And it's always the Zionists who you could argue created those nukes, right? Oppenheimer, you could argue that was a special kind of project. They're the ones that are constantly fear-mongering about it. So take a listen to Bibi Netanyahu, by the way, warning us about how close Iran was to nukes. Always on the brink of nukes. Over the course of 3 decades, they've been on the brink of nukes. Take a listen.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb. Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
Totally true. It's always totally true. Just a couple of weeks, they're going to have nuclear bombs. They just lie because they need the bodies. They need the people like Joe Kent. And then to see him be so disrespected, I mean, it's just what they do. And you know what they're going to do now. It's what they're already doing. They're going to smear and they're going to attack and they're going to threaten Joe Kent. Here are some of the immediate responses that are already floating online, okay? You have Lindsey Graham, who was so blackmailed it hurts. He wrote the resignation of Joe Kent as the director of National Counterterrorism Center could not have come at a better time. What? Like, in his statement explaining why he's resigning in protest, Mr. Kent is echoing the Democratic talking points, which are devoid of fact or evidence. Hopefully, the person replacing Mr. Kent will have a better understanding of the threats presented by the Iranian regime. Okay, next up, we have Mark Levin, our resident psycho. I wonder if this guy, Joe Kent, was about to be fired but quickly resigned first. That's how these things typically work. He's part of the radical, isolationist, woke right cabal. Okay, so he just got called a leftist by Lindsey. Now he's woke right, radical, isolationist. Watch how the left-wing media use him to attack the president and the military campaign against Iran. In part, that's why he wrote that letter. I wonder if he was one of the leakers inside of the administration, just asking questions. Laura Loomer follows up, so disrespectful to President Trump, but don't say I didn't warn you about Joe Kent and his wife, who works for the Trump hater and radical left Jew hater Max Blumenthal. Why does the White House allow these people to have wins? I would fire everyone and teach them a lesson that they would never forget. Rule with an iron fist. Punish everyone who leaks and undermines you. Also, stop putting Democrats in the Trump admin. It was never going to end well. I told you. Alan Dershowitz just threw it back to, neo-Nazi, Jew-hating, Israel basher, quits administration. Good riddance to bad garbage. Yep. Everyone who doesn't think that we should be sending our sons and daughters to die for Israel is a Nazi. Okay, that's what we get. Everybody who doesn't think, who sensibly believes that we should not be doing that is a Nazi. And here's a tweet from Taylor Budewick, who was the former deputy White House chief, who called him a crazed egomaniac who was often at the center of national security leaks. And then you can see they're kind of going in this direction now that he's not principled, okay? He's a loser. He's an absolute loser. We only wanted him when he was willing to sacrifice his family. And then, of course, Mark Levin again is going to say now the DOJ should open a criminal investigation to determine if Kent leaked any classified information.
¿Caben 6 metros cuadrados de cocina? ¡Uno inmenso! No importa el espacio, con Sodimac todo es posible. Sodimac.
Information. That's just, this is just incredible. You cannot even, when I tell you,